Hey guys, welcome back. We're going to do a quick video here. I love doing these Bible contradiction debunk videos. And this one's about Judas. It shouldn't be a long video at all, but if you recall, Judas, he was one of the original 12 apostles. And he was the one who betrayed Jesus before they crucified him. Jesus went to the guards and the people gave him 30 pieces of silver to say where Jesus was. And so what Judas did is he led the soldiers to the Garden of Gethsemane, and they say, hey, I want you to identify Jesus by just give him a kiss. And it was just a holy kiss back in that time. It's just an expression of brotherly love and unity, and that's what these apostles were. And then what happened here is after he told the guards of Jesus, he regretted his decision, Judas did, and then he returned the silver and he went and hanged himself. So you'll hear some people say, I was reading on some forums, that there's a contradiction here based on the gospel accounts. And what you have to remember is the four gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're complementary, they're not contradictory. We see this all the time. If someone writes a biography on you, say it was your mom, your dad, your best friend, some guy you work with, they're all going to have different accounts. It doesn't mean they're contradictory, they're complementary. They fill in everything. So that's what we see here in the four Gospels. And so we're just going to cover two scriptures, and it talks about the death of Judas. And this is pretty gruesome. So if you don't want to hear this, just tune out now. But it's interesting what happens here. So you have Matthew, and Matthew is a tax collector, by the way. These Gospels were really smart. So here's what it says. In Matthew 27, verse 5, it says, and he cast down the pieces of silver. This is Judas. He goes to the temple, threw this piece of silver down. He departed, and he went and hanged himself. So that's Matthew 27, verse 5. It says that he died by hanging himself. Acts 1:18, this is, so Luke actually wrote this. Luke was a medical doctor. This guy was super smart. So he's going to have a different point of view. It's interesting that Matthew brings up the pieces of silver. He's a tax collector. And then Luke describes this event very differently, who wrote the book of Acts, the actions of the disciples, or the apostles. And now this man purchased a field with the reward of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out. So this is interesting. So the only explanation here is when Matthew comes in, he looks at him, he says, look, Judas hung himself. And at some point later, Luke comes along, and he says, wow, this guy bursts asunder and his bowels are gushed out all over the place. So to me, a reasonable explanation here is Judas hanged himself, probably by a branch, and then however long he was there, the branch probably broke, fell to the ground, was probably off a cliff, and if he was sitting there in the sun for a period of time, the skin is going to start to decay and the gases are going to get stuck in you. And that's very common. If you read about homicides, there's a guy, I really need to read this book. His name's James Warner Wallace. He's a homicide detective. He's got a really cool website called Cold Case Christianity. And this guy goes around and solves murders. So if someone dies, the initial way he died is going to look differently than, say, 10 or 12 hours when 10 or 12 hours later when they find this guy. So this is common. So I don't even see why this should be a contradiction. It's not. It's just the same account. There's just different time periods. So Matthew went and saw this guy, hanged himself. Luke comes in. Hey, his bowels gushed out, so he fell from the tree. That's the explanation that makes sense to me, and I don't think this is a contradiction at all. It's just two different accounts. Each one of these accounts, Matthew and Luke, fills everything in, and it makes sense. So that's it. And I always like to end with this. If you're not a Christian, this is how you do it. Romans 10:9 and 10, it says that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. It's just a simple prayer you say out loud. You say, hey, Jesus, I'm a sinner. I believe you died for my sins. You rose 3 days later. I believe in your birth and your resurrection and your crucifixion. I want you to come into my life and take over. I don't like the way the things are going. I need you, and please just come into my life. And that's all you have to do. It's so simple. You don't need me to do it or someone else to do it. It's just the Lord's Prayer. That's all it is. And then after that, I would recommend getting a King James Bible. Go in the New Testament, read the book of John. It starts with the birth of Jesus all the way to his crucifixion and the resurrection, and that'll definitely get you on the right track about reading the Bible. So if you like this video, share it. This is the #1 thing you can do from these videos is share, comment, and subscribe. Those are the #1 things you can help this channel grow. So that's it, and we'll see you guys next time.